Hi, Steve.
Hi, Jeff. I sit here because Christy and Jeff fight. This way, I'm the moderator. Okay, someone had a question.
Well, I have one.
Okay, right
I
here.
just like, if you have, you're going around to these fairs and selling ice cream, and you go from one county to another, do you have to have like permits for each county, or how does that work?
I don't know the answer.
The permits are handled by the people who put on the expo or whatever it is you're going to.
Oh.
However, there is something that should be kept in mind. You're required by the people who run these things to book several months in advance.
Yeah.
And at that point, you pay for it. And they run about $1,200 for the 3 days.
Yeah.
Weather does not get you a refund.
Whoa.
If it rains, if you happen to hit a weekend where it's nasty and rainy, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, because you're going to transport there at an expense to you, and you've already paid for 3 days of a fair. And keep an eye on the weather. Not that you can do anything about it, but you can circumvent it, because if the weather's bad, you're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
So that's one of there's a lot of upsides to this, but that's a downside. They require you to pay in advance, and they do that because of the weather.
So, do you make like the ice cream and bring it with you, or do you bring the machine with you to make the ice cream?
No,
there?
normally you would have an off-premise site and then make the ice cream or ices
Yeah.
and transport it in a portable, I used a portable freezer that went on a trailer. And you can plug it into your car and keep it running. Or if it's not a long distance, just put it on the back and keep it closed, and it'll maintain the integrity of the product.
Oh, okay.
Question back there.
Yeah, you were using a lot of extracts, but that vanilla you're using wasn't an extract, right?
The vanilla is an extract, yes.
It is.
That's the only way vanilla comes.
It was in a gallon. I don't know
Yeah,
what.
it's an extra.
I'm sorry?
It was in a gallon jug.
Yeah, it was my gallon jug of Lockhead vanilla, and
Because we use a lot of it.
Yeah.
yeah. Tom, I don't know how many of you would remember Tom Carvel. You own Carvel ice cream parlors up in the north and here in Florida. And I knew Tom. I was one of the few people that he liked. He couldn't stand my father and my uncle because Dad threw him out of the factory in 1950. But Tom used to say, back when prices weren't what they were, he said, I send my spies into the stores and I tell them only taste the vanilla. Because in his words, if they're cheating on the vanilla, you can be darn sure they're cheating on the butterscotch. And it really is true. That's what I do when I go around the country. People say, hey, you want to try our salted caramel? No, I want to try your vanilla. Because your vanilla will tell me what the rest of your store is like. Because you can't hide anything in vanilla. So make a great vanilla. And the buying extracts in the supermarket isn't going to cut it. But there's some great companies. There's Weber and iRice Company and a few others that are terrific. Well,
I wanted to do something. For health reasons, do you really need to wear like rubber gloves or a hairnet in some of these places?
I think that's a county thing. Like every county is different.
I believe it's when making the ice cream it might be. I know at Penn State we always had to.
I mean, when you're serving it.
I don't think so.
Well,
No.
I require all the girls to tie their hair back severely or wear a hairnet, because you don't want somebody doing this.
No.
And we have that occasionally. People come up to the register with a hair like this.
I came up with a great idea for an ice cream parlor taken from one in Philadelphia, where the man had a long, narrow store, front to back. And so he had rope lines when you came in the door and came down to direct you to the back of the store. And there would be a person there, and he's pushing for you to buy the ice cream in a cup. So the server would say, would you like your ice cream in a cone or a cup? And you take it in the cup, and then the server then goes down to the ice cream, and you pick the flavor, and the server puts it in, and they have a topping bar. Would you like, and you eat with your eyes, so you throw on some M&Ms, and then you sort of throw on some pecan pralines and some other junk, just like a little kid. You really load it up, and then you take it down to the cash register, and the person who helped you with would you like a cone or a cup, then cashes it out and then goes back. Meanwhile, the other person in line she's just cashed, or he's just cashed out someone and goes back to the front. So two people are working this line just great, and it worked beautifully. Then COVID came along. And so now people look askance at you. Like, we had a birthday party the other day, and the birthday recipient didn't blow out the candles. They fanned them, which was sad. But that's what we do now. So that line worked great, except I would have to add rubber gloves because you're touching money or touching credit cards, and I don't want the person who's scooping my ice cream to be cashing it out and then serving the next person. So gloves, yes. Nets, no.
I've been to some of these stations where they're serving stuff, and they got counters set up with different flavors in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest part of them that I've seen have got such a mess there because
Yeah.
kids come in there and they dip from one to the other, and it's really revolting.
Yeah,
to see this.
I don't. We used to go to a place back in the early '60s in White Plains, New York, that you would get soft ice cream and then put your own toppings on. It was one of the first, and it was always a mess, and that's not good. It's interesting when you think about it. We'll eat what we call a dirty water dog, a hot dog. We'll eat a dirty water dog out of a truck. We'll eat it out of a cart on the side of 57th Avenue in Manhattan. But when it comes to ice cream, if it isn't clean and pristine, we're not going to go in there. We had a place in Rye, New York, an ice cream parlor, Baskin Robbins. And I've got nothing against tattoos. My wife has a beautiful one. This guy had a lot of tattoos. That was fine, but he wore an apron that was white, and it was always dirty with ice cream stains on it. Now, I knew it was ice cream stains. It didn't bother me. He also had 4 banks of lights, and only one of them was on to save energy. Nobody went into his store. He looked dirty. The store looked dingy because of poor lighting. And it doesn't count, again, with a hot dog, but it sure does count with ice cream. Someone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to revisit the question a while ago about the choosing the homemade version. I think that has to do maybe with some of the overrun. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And we're wanting to provide certainly a premium or to super premium level ice cream, and some of the stuff that I've read about it, I think that's equated a lot of times with quality. Whether Ben & Jerry's is running 25% overrun or 50% overrun, but
Ben & Jerry's is 50.
Could you just address that as to, because I think you talked about the scoopability of it. I think that probably has something to do with how dense the ice cream is as well, and just give me some input on your thoughts on how to make a super premium ice cream, or is that necessary or not necessary?
I think we both can answer. I have, inputs too, and do you want to go first?
No, go right ahead.
So Steve always has said nobody comes back because you have great air content. They come back because you have great ice cream. Running at homemade speed is doubling your product. So if you're putting in 5 quarts of mix or 10 quarts of mix, you're getting 20 quarts of product back out. Actually a little more, especially since you're going to be adding cookies. When you add, inclusions, you're going to get a little bit more volume coming out. You run at a super premium, you're not going to get, more bang for you're not getting the bang for your buck. I personally, when I have tried a super premium ice cream like a Ben & Jerry's and a Talenti's, Talenti is a gelato, Ben & Jerry is a super premium. They're both thick to me. They're both creamy to me. They're both, good, soft products to me. Your scoopability also, the thicker and heavier it is, can be a little harder to scoop. You'll be working with cookies, which has a higher sugar content, which will make yours a lot more easier to scoop than just a plain Jane vanilla. Or like a butterscotch will be softer to scoop. I personally, if it was my shop, would always run at a homemade setting because I'm going to get double what I put in, and that way I know that I am serving my customers still fantastic ice cream. And working with a higher butter fat content, you are in Tennessee, so you can do 12, 14%. I've even had 16%, and I honestly can't taste the difference between 14 and 16, but I'm not a scientist either, and some ice cream connoisseurs, I guess, could, but the average Joe can't.
You're looking at the person, I had completely forgotten this until now. You're looking at the person who owns the trademark Ultra Premium Ice Cream. Ultra Premium. Super Premium is a made-up term. It was made up, somewhere in the 80s, and we just started calling, Haagen-Dazs Super Premium Ice Cream. There is really no such thing, even though it exists. It exists right there on my machine. I did Ultra Premium and trademarked it because I thought it was absolutely ridiculous and fun. Never used it, and you don't see it anywhere. But where does it stop? Michaela, flag the tape. There's
You mean Christy?
No, Michaela. She's running the board there, so you can flag it later. But we came up Sports Illustrated every year. Everybody knows I'm not telling you anything different. We always have this the model, the bathing suit issue. I have a hard time telling the difference between a model and a supermodel. I think they both look great. And I don't know that many people can tell you the difference between super premium ice cream and homemade. There is an air content difference, and I guess if I was running your store, your business, with the extraordinary cookies, I would advertise super premium and I would run it at that level. I'm amazed how many people, everybody, one of the big reasons people buy our machine is because of the infinite overrun control. It's unlike anything else. But you go back and visit them and they're running on homemade, unless they're made for ice cream. If they're doing something different like dairy-free, or frozen custard, they go to the lower level. It doesn't change the texture to any significant amount. It changes the weight. And like I said, use the analogy, instead of the supermodel, use the analogy of birthday cake and pound cake, because that's really what you're talking about. And that pound cake is going to weigh so heavy, people are going to walk out and say, I like the ice cream, but for some reason it makes me feel ill. I just wouldn't do it.
Even like adding that pudding mix, like the box of the instant Jell-O pudding mix, even thickens up the products and makes it very heavy and thick. And I run that on homemade setting. I've done that many times. It's a very thick and creamy type of ice cream. And just like Steve said and I said, you can't taste the air content difference. And might as well, if you're going to make a fantastic ice cream, double your yield. Get that 20 quarts back out, or 22 quarts probably with your cookies. Nobody's going to come back because you had really good air content.
Jeff, tell them what's the one thing that matters in ice cream as far as what people eat.
You tell me. What is it?
Flavor.
Taste.
Flavor, yeah. The flavor.
Yeah.
If the ice cream's bland, if you don't use enough vanilla, it's bland. Mm-hmm. I always say, if you because we're not using artificial colors, if you hand me a pale pink ice cream and I say, wow, that's delicious, what is it? You just failed as an ice cream maker, because I can't tell that it's red raspberry instead of strawberry. It's all about the flavor. We can talk machines all day long. It's all about the flavor. Garbage in, garbage out. Mm-hmm. Buy the best, use a lot of it, and the money will be huge. Yes, sir.
Well, how much maintenance on the machine on the machine? So, because it's obvious to do whatever flavor and you want and whatever quality you want, but what's the maintenance and the life on the machine?
The maintenance is as close to zero as we can get it. Okay. The life of the machine, the average Emery Thompson lasts 40 years. We have machines out there that are 70 years old working in universities, like I think University of Maryland and Pennsylvania and Clemson.
Belt-driven machines.
Yeah, we also have machines that only made it 35 years. I've got one we're looking at right now that's in trouble because it's been out on somewhere, I think it's the Santa Monica Pier. And the salt water is the air in the air is getting to the machine. The The average machine made by everybody else lasts 7 years. If you want proof of that, go to eBay, look at how many Emery Thompsons are up for sale and the age of them. I think you'll bring it down to about 3 usable machines. And you look at the other machines. We don't even count Chinese. We don't even talk about them because they don't last 4 months. But you look at the Italian machines, and you're looking at a 7-year average lifespan before it's up on eBay, not because anybody went out of business, but because they just can't keep up on the maintenance. The maintenance consists of 2 little round O-rings on a drive shaft that you can remove by taking a butter knife or a kitchen knife and just rolling them off once a year and rolling them back on. The scraper blades used to be the 2 knives that spin around and scrape off the walls. We used to sharpen them once a year. Now I have it's a flawless method of judging whether you need to change your scraper blades. Every time you make $1 million in gross sales in your store, it's time to change your knives. That will work out to about 5 years. $1 million. It may come out to 5 years at the worst. It might come out to 3 years. It could be 1 if you're running 5 stores off one machine.
1 store. Daytona Beach, 1 store, 1 million.
Don't
1
talk
year.
too much because the IRS is listening to you. I'll be right with you. There's another one. But that's it. Is the blade? There are springs on the blades. You'll see if you look over here during lunch. You'll see our dashers, as we call them. They have springs. We used to have the blades fly out against the wall, centrifugal force. Then we started doing lower speeds, and they wouldn't fly out. So now my engineers designed spring-loaded blades, real heavy springs. So if a blade is 1 day old, it's going to really push out against the walls. Okay. If it's 4 years and 11 months old, it's still really going to push out against the walls. But we know it won't make it through another season, so we sell you 4 springs. Big deal. 4 springs and 2 O-rings over, every year or two. It's not much money. Everything else in the machine, we make about 72% of the parts in the machine between this factory, the one I've got up the street 2 doors, and the one across the street. We make 72% of our own parts. The rest of our parts are American-made compressors, American-made motors, American-made transmissions. I can't say it's 100% American-made because I can't guarantee that some wire somewhere didn't come from Mexico. But I don't have, like everybody else, mostly a Chinese component machine. I won't do it. I don't sell to the Chinese. I won't buy from the Chinese. So we've got a machine that is unlike anything you've ever owned, and people say, how can you do that? There's no planned obsolescence. And I go, exactly. There's no planned obsolescence because you're going to brag about your machine to at least 10 or 15 other people in its lifetime. And they're going to come to Emery Thompson because so-and-so said, I started Haagen-Dazs ice cream with an Emery Thompson, and, why would you go anywhere else? There's nothing like us. Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering that when you're talking about going from one place to the other, is it better to have a certain size machine in that unit?
I didn't understand.
You got a trailer.
Oh, you're going to keep the machine most likely at home, not in the trailer. You're not going to make ice cream or ices while you're selling it. There's too much of a lag time. You make it and then you throw it in a freezer for at least 3 or 4 hours. So,
is it when you're in one of these units? Is it better to have like the same size cup or whatever you're going to put this stuff in all the time, or should you have 2 or 3 different sizes in there?
okay, the question is, do I need different size cups if I'm doing ices or bowls or ice cream? Labor, what it is, expensive and hard to find. You want to keep that store as simple as possible. That's why I went from 32 flavors down to 12 flavors. I want this business dead simple. Emery Thompson, I've designed it so well that if I go away next week down to our Jupiter office, this place is going to run like clockwork. Christy is going to handle all the sales and marketing. Mike is going to handle the questions that come in about repairs. Slade is going to handle the factory floor. That's the way you want your business to be. Everybody is replaceable and everybody can substitute for you. That's a well-run business. So somebody other than you should know how to make the ice cream. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question, kind of piggybacking off this gentleman here. The infinite overrun, how does that affect when making Italian ice?
Okay, good question. The infinite overrun and Italian ice. There is basically no air or very little air in Italian ice. If you take, well, nobody knows what an ice cube tray is anymore. Oh, you do. Okay, good. If you have a wood boat in Michigan on a nice little lake, and you leave that boat in Michigan in the wintertime, you'll come back in the spring and your boat will be crushed because the ice, the water freezes and water expands. I think it's 17%, maybe 14%. It expands out, crushes your boat. So the best you're going to get as far as overrun is going to be about a 10% overrun or maybe a 20% air content. No matter what speed you run it in, because there's no dairy fat in it. There's no cells. Are you making a cream ice?
No.
Okay. If you make a cream ice, it's got a little, that's all right. It has a little bit of milk in it, but otherwise there's no milk in it to expand. Milk is a fat, and the fat cells expand. Water is water. It only expands a little bit when you freeze it. So I don't care what speed you run it on. I don't care whose machine you run it on. You use my formulas and you'll have the world's greatest Italian ice. The difference is my machine's going to last 40 years and the dasher is never going to break, and yours is not going to last 3 weeks without breaking, because Italian ice is the consistency of wet cement. You need a cement mixer. That's what we build.
And I guess that's where I was going. I was trying to make sure I understood the amount or quantity of ingredients that you get those 6 quarts out of, let's say, this CB350.
Well,
So, was that in reference to the dairy-free, or the dairy?
The Italian ice.
Just Italian.
Oh, Italian ice. To get the 6 quarts out, you probably can do 4 quarts, 4.5. I wouldn't push it. I'd leave it at. Do 4 quarts is what I would usually. That's when I make an Italian ice. So we're gonna make one at the very last flavor, and you'll notice I do 4 quarts of liquid and 2 pounds of sugar. Adding that 2 pounds of sugar just made the volume go up a little bit more. So I'm gonna wind up with a good, almost pushing 6 quarts of finished product.
Yeah.
How I explain it to people is, you got a mixing bowl. If you were to put sugar and coconut milk in that mixing bowl, take your whisk and whisk it, you're going to sit there for 2 hours and it's not doing anything. It's not going anywhere. It's still going to be coconut milk and sugar in a bowl. That's it. You do that with heavy whipping cream, you pour that in a bowl with the whisk and some sugar, it's going to wind up making fluffy, homemade Cool Whip is what you're getting. That's because heavy cream has fat. So that's how I explain it to people, so you get a visual. I'm a visual person.
That's good, and it's high fat.
It's high fat.
30%.
It's very high fat.
As opposed to milk at 4%.
30. I think it's at 30, 20-something%. Anyways, are we good on questions? No? Okay.
One last question. Do you make products that are for overseas usage?
Oh yeah, we're in, what are we in, 142 countries? Used to be 172 countries. I cut it down. I will not sell to China. I will not sell to Russia. I won't sell to some countries that just make it impossible to deal with. India. India has so many, I'd love to sell to India. It's a huge market. But Christy also handles the final exporting and the export and the stories I hear of 6 months just to get it past Indian customs. But otherwise, we're in every country in the world. I mean, you can't name a country that doesn't have Emery Thompson in it, which is great. And so we build to all the different voltages. You tell me the country, I'll tell you what the voltage is going to be. I'll tell you that it's going to be, in Ghana, it's going to be 50 hertz. And on the bigger machines, it's going to be 380 volts as opposed to 220. We build it. Everything is handmade, so we're hand making it to where you're going.
And in Philadelphia, it's Jalen Hurts.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Stabilizers, how long should ice cream last, given them to the customer and home, and the amount of...
If it's good, it won't take very long, will it?
Well, yeah, I understand that. But the longer that you don't have it in the freezer cold, you start getting more ice crystals, which break down your ice cream.
I don't understand.
I don't like stabilizers. I never have.
The ice cream's going to come with stabilizers in it, but they're going to be all
Yes.
natural. The blend that you buy is going to have guar, which is a gum, possibly carrageenan, which is seaweed. If something's got polysorbate 80 in it, run like hell. I don't want that in there. But these are to extend the life of the dairy while you have it before you turn it into ice cream.
Steve has a great saying that I will go to my grave remembering. If you're not eating it, or it's not selling after a week, it's the wrong flavor.
Yeah.
So you don't need it to last. If its shelf life is 6 months, who cares?
It's
If
a bad
nobody's eating it,
flavor.
Yeah. But if it's good, it'll go, like when you bring home a pint of a good ice cream, it's not gonna sit in your freezer for a week, is it? It's pretty much, especially you'd eat it in one night, as I would. So that's good ice cream.
But if you're transporting ice cream,
Wholesalers.
if you're doing wholesale and
Yeah,
you've got
wholesale does.
1,000 pints, cold is the best preservative on earth. These chest freezers go to minus 10 Fahrenheit. This hardening cabinet here, blast freezer, is 25 below zero. At 25 below zero, it's going to last months and months and months in there. If that's the answer you're looking for, it'll be forever. But otherwise, Jeff is right. I make coffee banana ice cream. Awful flavor to most people. I've learned to like it because it was preservation. It was the only way I could keep ice cream in those chest freezers without everybody stealing my ice cream. Is make something that's just so horrible. Christie's, what do you call it?
Ranch?
The ranch dressing is coming up now in 4 months. I think it's going to go to a 7-year record. But yeah, I think that's really the answer to what you're talking about. Is the colder it is, the longer you can store it. The Haagen-Dazs, if you buy it out in Los Angeles, it was made in Lodi, New Jersey, most likely, and is probably already 6 weeks old before it gets to the store. So no problem. As long as it's super cold, it'll last forever.
You had a
Almost
question
last
in the
forever.
back?
I just want to know how old the ranch dressing ice cream was.
Oh, quite old.
Yeah, and getting older by the minute.
You're still welcome to, taste it.
Yeah.
0 out of 10 recommend.
For the hardening cabinet, how long in between batches or time can I move them?
8 hours.
Or overnight.
Yeah. But that is more than just hardening the ice cream quickly, which keeps ice crystals from happening. That's your inventory. That's where you're going to draw from. Like I said this morning, you're not going to make just one tub of a flavor. You're going to make 5 or 6 tubs of that flavor because you're running a store. So leave it in there and it's not going to deteriorate at all. Move it out to the dipping cabinet and Baskin-Robbins says you have 10 days to sell it. So rather than tick off that 10 days, leave it in there and wake up every morning, have your coffee or tea, and turn on the Weather Channel to see what the weather's going to be like for this weekend. If there's a hurricane coming through, leave it in there. If it's going to be 95 degrees with a real feel of 110, start pulling it out of there and put it into your serving cabinets.
Jeff, you want to talk about your book?
No.
Yeah, we do.
I'll talk about you.
All right, you talk about Jeff's book. I'll talk about mine.
I only have 2.
Well, you'll make more.
You put one in your bag.
Yeah, but it was a thin one.
Okay.
These are-
You'll make more. Jeff produced this book. It's his recipes. You know those ones that you just watched where he goes zing, 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 zing? He actually did reduce it to paper. And there aren't a lot of great books out there about making ice cream and Italian ices and other products. And this is one of the great ones. And I know people who have opened up their store with this book and just this book and have been very successful.
And these are tried and true recipes that were in his store and very successful. You won't fail with any of those recipes that are in there.
You won't find Sharknado in here.
No.
You won't find Sharknado in there.
And this is our recipe book.
Christie's book.
This one has over 100 recipes. It has, each flavor that you see will be broken down into the size machine that you do purchase. Jeff's book is like that as well. These are not recipes that have been in a store, but flavors like you see us create here that have been made over the 120 years now. So stay tuned for volume 2 in the next 120 years. And Jeff has some. You can purchase his. How much are they, Jeff?
Steve made me lower them for the class, they're 40.
Oh, okay. So he only has a few here today, but you can always send him an email and reach out to purchase one, and he can ship it to you. You can purchase these here through Kendall. There is one that's open. If you want to kind of finger through it, see inside the book, you can go see Kendall in the front office, and she'll be happy to help you.
To paraphrase, I just saw this. To paraphrase D'Agostino's supermarkets in New York, which is world famous if you're in New York, their slogan would have been something like, "Love that mint chip, love that mango. Enough of this love making. Let's eat." There's